It all starts with this. This is the ultimate power.
Hello everybody, it's me, your good friend Sparky, and welcome back to Sonic Heroes. We're jumping back into Rail Canyon, and this time we're taking it on with Team Chaotix.
This has gotta be Eggman's base. Just the way we like it.
Cool!
All right, let me take point.
SBO says he's going to take point, but in all reality, it's because you always start off a stage playing as the speed character. So I guess SBO is just kind of the point man in Team Chaotix. Technically, Vector is the leader, but I feel like for whatever reason, at least to me, SBO's a little more iconic as far as the Team Chaotix members are concerned. Though in Sonic spin-off games, those really like making Vector the sole playable character from the Chaotix trio. I still feel like I really like SBO a lot more. I don't know what it is. I guess I'm just a fan of Chameleon Ninjas. But yes, it does bring us to the main mission of this particular stage. That being, we're trying to get to the center of Eggman's base, and in all reality, I feel like as a result, just from the way this stage functions, this is probably the weakest of the Team Chaotix missions, just for the fact that it's just kind of trying to get to the end of the stage and get to a goal ring like most of the other non-Chaotix missions in the game. It's just kind of standard, all things considered, for the most part. The big thing about this mission comes with the fact that it really emphasizes having to mess with the laser rails as the switches are scattered about the stage and such like that. In the Sonic and Dark levels, and by extension Team Rose, who we'll get to in a moment, the rail switches, they really only serve as kind of like an aesthetic thing for the most part, where you've got to hit the right rail switch to make progress forward and like switch things up so you're heading in the right direction. But for the most part, when you're riding along a rail, you'll just hit the switch you need to hit and then it'll automatically set you on the right track. This mission ends up making the rail switches like a complete central mechanic of the stage, where if you don't hit the right rail switch, or you don't hit the rail switch as you're going by it, it'll end up looping you back to an earlier part of the stage. Not a long ways, usually you just get stuck in kind of a short loop, or you don't necessarily like have a exit to get out of a section until you hit the rail switches or something like that. It all becomes kind of a puzzle in trying to figure out where the rail switch you need is, and exactly when you gotta hit it, and when the right opportunity to hit it is. And yeah, that's where the challenge comes from. Like our client said at the beginning, this does make it kind of a difficult mission, because if you're not paying attention, you can end up being stuck in a section and maybe not even necessarily realize it. You can end up just looping around a spot over and over again, and you'll make zero progress because you are traveling in a circle. It all comes down to just sort of paying attention and trying to work through the little mini segments in each part of this, in order to actually make progress forward. But even then, those segments are kind of few and far between sometimes. For the most part, you're just kind of going through the stage like normal, so it ends up feeling a lot more like a standard Sonic Heroes stage. Also, Vector almost careening into a pit, so in accidentally hitting the B button in the middle of the air, thereby triggering his fist pound maneuver. That was kind of a close thing, but we recovered. Yeah, so we're good. We're good at this game, presumably. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting idea, but it just kind of comes across as a standard stage for the most part, which makes this one of the least memorable segments of Team Chaotix's mission. I feel like they maybe could have figured out how to do something a little different with it to make it a bit more interesting. Like maybe you're trying to hit the rail switches to get to certain sections where you've got to collect an item or something like that, just to sort of fit it more into the main theming of Team Chaotix's entire gimmick, where they're doing missions that are non-standard Sonic missions. They're looking for hermit crabs, they're collecting poker chips, they're trying to get a certain amount of rings, you know. Here it's just get to the end of the stage in just a slightly slower fashion sometimes. So, yeah. That's nice, I guess. Also, accidentally missing the rail. Yeah. But that kind of does lead me to another point where, since you do occasionally have those slower segments where you are trying to figure out exactly what the right rail is, or like what the right switch is, rather, or what switch you gotta hit to trigger the way forward, essentially. Since you have those slower segments like that, where you kind of stop and open up the path forward, you combine that with what we mentioned in the last episode about this particular stage really kind of emphasizing what makes Sonic Heroes kind of lengthy and sometimes difficult to navigate. When you have to stop and do these segments where you gotta find the rail switch in order to actually make progress forward, it can just end up making the stage feel that much slower, since you're literally having to stop the action to carefully jump across perilous platforms and find a switch in order to make your way forward and not get hit by a train while you're in the middle of doing all that. And sometimes there's more than one switch you gotta hit, so you gotta jump back into the fray and you end up falling off again. And yeah, overall it can be a lot better. Also, that was a physics moment of very slowly going up around the loop there. I don't know. Maybe I just couldn't really get into the sort of more puzzly mechanic of the stage, where, I mean, it's got promise of being more of a challenge, brain teaser sort of way, trying to figure out the right way forward. But when you're kind of combining that with jumping across gaps and rail grinding mechanics that don't always work the way you want them to, and right here's an interesting segment that's going to cause a bit of a problem here, where, yeah, you can recover if you end up landing on the rail below you when you fall. But overall, you've got to try to just hit the right rail switchers in the right order, and then you can get to the end of the stage. And yeah, It's just kind of like a standard Sonic stage in that regard. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not intelligent enough to enjoy the more puzzly aspect of the stage. But especially when they put a segment like that right at the end where you can accidentally fall off and lose all your points.
Insulting. Your training has been a waste of time.
Harsh, SBO, jeez. Yeah, it's a bit of a problem. But thankfully the next mission is more like what you would expect out of Team Chaotix. So, we are looking for these weapon capsules strewn about, which, for the other characters, these are just, stage props. They sometimes have items hidden in them when you destroy them, like that, box of rings, I think it is, right over there. But for Team Chaotix, these are our mission. We need to destroy these weapon capsules in order to keep Dr. Eggman from, ruling the world. And also, all the same, you can still accidentally fall off, and it kind of creates problems. Interesting, though, I don't think I've had a chance to talk about this yet, unless I mentioned it briefly and just completely forgot, so I might be repeating myself right now. But the cannons scattered about these stages, depending on what team formation you're in when you're in them, determines what direction you get shot in. For example, in flying formation, it shoots us up to this upper segment here. But when we were in power formation, it would instead give us control of the cannon and let us determine what order, or rather, what direction we shoot our team members in. That's true of any cannon in the game, though. Whenever you enter one in power formation, it gives you direct control of the cannon. But when you enter in speed or flying formation, it automatically will shoot you to a different part of the stage. Sometimes, in order to make proper progress, you do need to have be in a specific formation. But all the same, it's kind of interesting, honestly. So yeah, we're just kind of roaming around and looking for weapon capsules. In all regard, a lot of the Team Chaotix missions do kind of boil down to this, where you are just kind of searching for a specific thing in the stage. I guess there's really only so much they could do with the concept, with the sort of game they created. And all the same, when you're kind of destroying capsules and stuff like that, it can also just be they're blocking your way and blocking switches and stuff like right there. So they're blocking progress anyway, and you've got to destroy them regardless. But much like with the hermit crabs and poker chips and things like that, if you know exactly where these capsules are, this can end up being kind of a quick stage, but it is a bit more lengthy considering the fact that you have to destroy 30 of them. But all the same, if you're not familiar with the locations, yeah, this stage can take a little bit to get through, and it's a bit more lengthy and complicated than the Hermit Crab style stage 2. Considering the fact that they do have to destroy 30 of them, and sometimes you encounter these segments in the stage where there's just long gaps without them. So it ends up being a little bit of a drag, but not that much. It's at least more interesting than the last stage for Team Chaotix, considering this is definitely more in line with their mission-based gameplay and things like that. It's not just completely standard get to the end of the stage style things going on. You are instead completing a specific task, and you complete your stage once the task is finished. So I definitely like this one a lot better than the previous stage. Because Team Chaotix is just, they are unique. They are unique and special. All of the team members are unique and special, and I like them a lot. I wish they did get a little more love in some Sonic games. Outside of Sonic Heroes here, I honestly have trouble trying to remember if they've had kind of like a playable appearance outside of spin-off games. I don't think they have. They're usually relegated to sort of background cameos and things like that, or just kind of side characters in the story. Like in Sonic Generations, where they're just kind of join the group of characters that you sort of have to rescue as you make progress through the stages. Or like in Shadow the Hedgehog, where they take the roles of some of the characters that you kind of partner with and pal around with as Shadow completes missions and the like. You know what I want out of the Sonic franchise? And this does not couple with my desire in any way of just wanting Knuckles Chaotix playable on modern platforms. Definitely not. It has nothing to do with it. I also would really like it if there were just kind of a Team Chaotix game where there might be like a detective element in addition to more standard Sonic gameplay, where you're not necessarily teamed up like in Sonic Heroes. Maybe you've got Espio, Charmy, and Vector all as separate playable characters, and you're trying to figure out the proper ways to get through different missions with the different characters, or maybe you have to figure out which character you have to play as for a certain part in order to find clues and solve the mysteries. And I don't know, I feel like they could have a lot of fun with the idea of Team Chaotix being a detective agency, and also make it like a cool, fun Sonic action game, utilizing the different characters and their uniqueness. Because individually, they all have the same standard Sonic skills as the other characters. And they do have their really fun, unique bits here, like Espio sticking to walls and turning invisible, and Vector constantly listening to music and like spitting music notes and things like that. I don't know. I feel like they could have a lot of fun with the concept. And in general, I just wish Team Chaotix was playable more often. It would be nice. And we are back to the bobsled part of our adventure. And this is where, honestly, a lot of the capsules are in the stage. You sort of end up getting to a segment there where there's a bunch in a row, and you just sort of have to crash into them with the bobsled in order to destroy them and finish them off. And, you know, it's a good place to finish the mission, because there are a lot of them grouped together there. Like with the other stages, if you get to the end of the stage, it'll just kind of loop you back to the beginning, and you have to sort of figure out where you might have missed capsules. So it's functional like the other stages like this.
Perfect! The work of professionals!
Very professional indeed, Vector. Very professional indeed.
That must be...
What do we do now?
Secret weapons must be aboard that ship. Destroy it before it reaches the canyon.
Piece of cake! Ready, all cannons! Open fire!
Looks pretty tough. Are we ready?
I can't wait!
So much like Team Dark and Team Sonic, there's some story here to find with Team Chaotix, but there's not really much of a point to showing the whole fight, considering it's basically the same fight we've seen already. So we're just gonna kind of skip ahead and just set things up for context's sake. It wouldn't make much sense if they were suddenly in front of a crashed ship from the end of the last stage, you know.
Target destroyed.
But let's see exactly what they get up to here.
Good job, boys. Guess that Eggman was a fake after all.
Of course it was.
Wrong?
Listen carefully. There's a jungle just to the north of here. Go there immediately.
Got it.
You know what? Our client sure seems to know a lot about this Dr. Eggman guy.
Definitely an agent. A relative, perhaps.
Strangely enough, I had the same weird feeling about our client's real identity. It could be you-know-who.
There's definitely a mystery to be had here, but it's a mystery that we're going to have to wait to solve because we need to switch back over to Team Rouge as they make their way through the Rail Canyon. Let's see how it goes.
I smell Froggy.
She says Chakula is closed. All right, let's go.
So I guess we're following the scent of Froggy through the stage, rather than trying to necessarily follow the pathways to make our way to the center of Eggman's base here. We're instead following the smell of a frog that apparently Big can pick up on from miles and miles away. Also, speaking of Big, instead of rail grinding using his feet like the other characters, he instead rail grinds on his butt. And that's gotta hurt. He just sits on the rail and it just goes right where the sun don't shine. I don't really know what to make of that character animation, honestly, or what the thought process behind it was. Why he couldn't just stand on the rail like the other characters, I don't know. Maybe he was just too big and it looked weird when he tried to stand on the rail. But, Big, dude, it's gotta hurt, man. It's just gotta. I worry for you, Big. You're a little too frog obsessed, and you don't really think about your own safety. I think some therapy might be in order, but I mean, who am I to judge? Froggy makes him happy, so that's really all you need. All you need is your best friend, who you can detect and find by smell, apparently. Yeah, sure. Makes sense to me. But yeah, Rail Canyon in general, it's more or less standard Team Rouge things. It's just kind of a shorter version of the stage that we played through as with Team Sonic and Team Dark. Or at least it's the stage you would have seen with Team Sonic if I was actually including the footage here. Right? Right, exactly. I am smart. I am good at things. That being said, it doesn't really exclude Team Rouge at all from the sort of difficulty upping that this stage sort of introduces, and all the sort of problems working around the gimmicks that I mentioned. But with Team Rouge, it's a lot less punishing if you end up accidentally falling off a rail or something like that. Because the stage is so short in general, there's a lot less ground that you really need to cover in order to get to the end. So losing a life and accidentally falling off a rail or whatever, it can definitely hurt at times, but it's not nearly as bad as, say, trying to get the stage done with Team Dark, or trying to work through rail switching puzzles with Team Chaotix. It's still more or less exactly what you would expect out of Team Rouge. And while it gets a little bit harder, well, we're already at the end of the stage, so yeah. Should kind of drive home the point that Team Rouge, I feel like, their difficulty level gets better as the game goes on. It still gets a little harder, but honestly, I think for them that kind of works to their advantage because it makes the game more challenging instead of just kind of way too easy. It's kind of interesting to think about. Yes, indeed. I want to tell everyone too. I want to tell them about my thoughts on Sonic Heroes, which is exactly why I'm putting this project together. But of course, they also have to head through Bullet Station, so we'll do that next.
Sure looks dangerous.
Look at all those cannons.
Let's see what they got.
My turn.
Amy challenging the cannons, possibly seeing if Big can do that, like, sideshow act where, like, a fat guy takes a cannonball to the stomach. He could probably do it, honestly. I think that would be pretty impressive. I kind of doubt he would even feel it, considering the fact he doesn't seem to be affected or bothered by a rail going up his butt as he slides along it. So, you know. Though, you gotta be careful to not leave your teammates behind. We've seen these guys scattered about, where they kind of capture a teammate, and trying to recover your teammate does kind of lead to maybe accidentally falling off the stage once or twice. Sometimes, anyway, because trying to have to backtrack for a teammate when they get caught in a trap like that can definitely be an issue, because usually the camera is kind of fighting against you in that case. Since it's always generally right behind you, trying to turn it around and see where you're going if you have to go backwards through a stage for whatever reason, it can be a bit of a problem. But all things considered, if you're careful, you generally don't have to worry about that. There are those guys that can capture your teammates, and you can also end up getting teammates captured under weights that kind of squash them and leave them in place. And in general, if you lose a teammate for whatever reason, you can use the team blast to recover them. It doesn't generally matter where you ended up leaving them, though generally you shouldn't leave your friends trapped anywhere regardless. That's good advice in case you're ever on an adventure like this and you need to work together with someone. Don't leave your friends behind, because I think it would probably end up going bad for you and everybody else. It's not really a problem in general in this game that you encounter too often, and more or less if you're careful, you can just kind of hang out and then free the teammate and you don't have to worry about leaving them behind. But technically, I guess if you do manage to trap your teammates somewhere, you can see exactly if you would be able to, like, complete a stage solo with a certain character, maybe. That could be kind of an interesting challenge thing for Sonic Heroes, honestly. Ditching your teammates and seeing if you can complete it as a solo experience. All in all, though, that's not really what the game's supposed to be about. It's all about teamwork and friends and having fun with them and saving the world, because saving the world is cool. And in general, we are right at the end of the stage here. Big is not the way to make progress forward, though. Switch over to flying, shoot your way up, and there is the goal ring right there. There's also, like, a bonus item up there if you really want it. And apparently I really wanted it. It was a 1-up, which is nice. Though, generally, you don't have to worry too much about losing those with Team Rose. There we go. We are done with the stages for right now. And we are officially going to be moving on to the next set of stages in the next video. But much like with Team Chaotix, Team Rose has their own little extra story segment here that we need to check out. But of course, there's a boss fight that's going to be in the way of that story segment. So, we need to kind of check that out first, and just kind of skip through it like, much like we did with Team Chaotix. Cause, yeah,
Kinda super duper happy.
it's just the same boss fight, but an even easier version of it. So, yeah, I don't think it would be too interesting to end up watching, if I'm being perfectly honest. So, we're just gonna kind of skip through it here.
Something weird in there. Cheese, you'll be reunited with Chocola very soon.
Froggy too?
Let's get him before Sonic does. Then he'll be head over heels for me.
Ready, all cannons! Open fire!
This is it. Ready? Yeah!
Okie dokie.
As usual, Amy is completely selfless in her goals. She is helping her friends, and that is just about it. She in no way is doing this in order to get a boyfriend at all. Nope, not in the slightest. But as we head into Team Rose's story cutscene here, that is going to be it for this episode of Sonic Heroes. Thank you very much for watching. This is your good friend Sparky signing off for now, and I'll catch you next time.
Hey, it's just a stupid copy.
Froggy, where are you? Let's go home.
Cheese, what's wrong? Oh, no. Yes.
A chow nappy.
But why?
I'm not really sure, but betcha Dr. Eggman has something to do with it, and we're not gonna let him get away with it. Come on, let's get out of here.
Okie dokie.